The last call. A mother struggling to keep her family together receives an unexpected message late at night, one that would change everything, even though she had no idea how it had arrived. The struggle. Maggie's life had been a constant struggle. A single mother of 3, she worked long hours at a local diner, just trying to keep a roof over their heads. Her days were filled with worry about paying bills, getting the kids to school, and finding a moment to breathe. The weight of it all felt overwhelming, and some nights, she wasn't sure how much longer she could keep going. One evening, after an exhausting shift, Maggie returned home to find the electricity had been cut off. It was just one more thing to add to the growing list of problems. She sat down at the kitchen table, her head in her hands, feeling defeated. It was late, the kids were asleep, and she didn't even know where to turn next. A mysterious call. Just as she sat there, the phone rang. Maggie almost didn't pick it up, but something inside her told her to answer. "Hello?" she said, her voice barely audible. On the other end, a man's voice greeted her. "Maggie, it's Jim." She froze. Jim was her late husband, who had passed away 2 years earlier in a car accident. She hadn't heard his voice since then, and yet, there he was, clear as day, calling her. "Maggie, don't worry. Everything is going to be okay," Jim's voice reassured her, calm and steady. Maggie could hardly believe what she was hearing. "Jim? Is this really you?" she asked, her heart racing. The voice on the other end simply said, "Trust in the Lord, Maggie. Help is coming." The message. Tears welled up in Maggie's eyes. Her mind raced, trying to make sense of what was happening. It had to be a mistake, right? But the voice was unmistakable. Jim had been gone for 2 years, but the sound of his voice was as clear as ever. Before she could say anything else, the line went dead. Maggie sat in stunned silence for a moment, the weight of what just happened settling in. Was it a miracle? A message from beyond? Or was she just imagining things from the stress of her life? In the quiet of the night, Maggie pulled out a small Bible from the shelf, one Jim had given her just before he passed. She flipped it open to a verse that had always brought her comfort. "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." Psalm chapter 34 verse 18. For the first time in a long while, Maggie felt a sense of peace wash over her. It wasn't an explanation, but it was a reassurance she needed. Maybe there was hope after all. A change of heart. The next morning, Maggie received an unexpected phone call, this time, from the electric company. There had been a mistake, they said, and her bill was paid in full. They offered to restore her service right away. Maggie couldn't believe it. She hadn't made any payments. In fact, she hadn't even known where the money would come from. Later that week, Maggie found an envelope in the mail, an anonymous donation to help with her bills. The total amount was exactly what she needed to cover the back payments on her utility bills and more. There was no name, just a note, "We are watching over you." Maggie couldn't help but feel that her late husband's call was more than just a coincidence. It was a message, a reminder that she wasn't alone. The days ahead were still tough, but something had changed. Maggie had a renewed sense of faith and hope that things would get better. A new perspective. In the months that followed, Maggie began to see her struggles in a new light. The miracles didn't always come in grand gestures, but they came in unexpected ways. Like a neighbor dropping off food when she needed it most, or a friend offering her help without asking. She learned to trust more deeply in her faith, and the love and support from those around her seemed to multiply. And while she would never truly understand what happened that night on the phone, Maggie had no doubt that it was more than just a strange occurrence. It was a message of hope, a reminder that no matter how dire things seemed, divine help was always nearby, ready to offer comfort and strength.